Gender is understood as male and female. The misses are often mistaken about many things. Gender is a construction, and the dichotomy is all about the imposition of social codes on human beings. In other words, there are genders other than male and female. Whether you accept it or not, this is a fact. Our introduction to this topic will be about the biological distinction. However, biological distinctions are a tiny part of gender. Gender cannot be explained by biology alone. Psychological and sociological phenomena play a more significant role. When I say psychological, some of you may think of disease. The disease is not LGBTQ, but homophobia. Homophobia is a communication problem that spreads hatred in society. We will address these issues in other videos. Some theories directly oppose what I'm going to talk about in this video, and they are called queer theories. Before we start a video series on human sexuality, which is quite complex, let's follow the line that has been going on since at least 1968 and leave the various views on queer theory for later in this video. We will look at the biological foundations of the concept of gender. However, this basis may not be as accurate as the masses think, so the division between masculine and feminine is purely symbolic. A dichotomy based on a difference in genitalia opens the door to a series of subsequent social meanings. Gender is a social cultural construct that determines the behavioral characteristics of women and men in different societies. This structure regulates and imposes on individuals the roles, duties and responsibilities, behavioral patterns and status of women and men about each other in a society. Biological sex refers to the different biological and psychological characteristics of men and women, such as reproductive organs, chromosomes, hormones, etc. The word sex has a universal presence deriving from a distinction, a division, and a cut. This term, originating from the Latin word secare and used in almost all languages worldwide, signifies the attainment of a gender identity during the construction of human identity. The root of sex, secare, means separation and division. This distinction significantly influences every aspect of our lives, creating unique ways of life for man and woman and leading to different dimensions of perception and consciousness. This is why we might mistakenly assume a distinction exists in how man and woman perceive the world. All living things in nature engage in reproductive activities. In biology, reproduction is divided into two, asexual and asexual reproduction. Human beings in the mammalian animal group are sexual reproducers. All mammals are born with some genital organs at birth. In other words, human reproductive organs are visible from the outside. The appearance of genital organs is the basis of biological sex. Very rare and double sex organs. Hermaphrodites didn't break the generalization, and the division based on the biological sex distinction became ingrained in human consciousness as if the two sexes were separate and independent. Before delving into the concept of gender, it's helpful to first understand the basics of biological sex. In simple terms, biological sex refers to the biological and genetic codes that determine the physical differences between males and females. These codes, which are made up of an average of 20,000 genes, essentially program the biological structure and many future characteristics of a human being. Gender Gardner states that the union of egg and sperm is biologically complex. On average, every 28 days, 14 days after menstruation, an egg is produced in the female body, rarely more than one egg. If this egg is not fertilized within a few hours, it's expelled. Only one of the sperm that reaches the fallopian tubes during sexual intercourse fertilizes the egg, and the so-called zygote is formed. The zygote doesn't allow other sperm to enter the wall. Chromosomes are of two types, autosomes and sex chromosomes. Sex chromosomes are divided into X and Y. Chromosomes, a woman's chromosomes are only X chromosomes, but a man's chromosomes contain a Y chromosome that makes him different from a woman's body. The Y chromosome is inherited from the father. In other words, the father biologically determines whether the child will be male or female. The embryo sex is determined during the second trimester of pregnancy, when the male embryo begins to produce testosterone. This enables the development of male genitals. If the amount of testosterone is low, the embryo develops female genitals. The sex of the baby in the womb is determined at the end of the 8th week, on average between 9-12 weeks. The genitals which have not developed and become apparent until now become visible from this date onwards. As can be understood from this, biological sex is basically the sex determined by looking at the genitals. Families who learn that their children are male or female begin to impose roles appropriate to these sexual identities on them from the very first moment. They start teaching them, sometimes with awareness and sometimes without realizing it, and as a result of this teaching, identities called gender are formed. When a child is born, they are immediately labeled with their visible gender. Society starts to get involved throughout the growing period, even much earlier. From the first ultrasound image, this is the first sign of humanization. He or she is no longer a little baby, but a little boy or girl. Even before the baby is born, the process of ascribing social norms and values to it begins within the family. We will continue with videos on this topic. Please subscribe to my channel and like the video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
I'm gonna set your place on fire. Let's get higher.